to today's podcast. And today we have,
Maria Hernandez.
Yhencey.
and should we get started on like why they're here, what kind of things they're doing?
Yeah, but let's introduce ourselves again, because,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
So I'm Jackie.
And I'm Khalees Curtis.
So now we can start with all whatever we want to talk about, which today the topic is immigration. And all of us come from ethnic backgrounds. I'm first generation. My parents are immigrants.
I don't even know, dude. Like my auntie came here. Well, I guess I'd be second generation then, I think, because my auntie came here, and then my whole family moved, like when I was 5. So I don't know.
Oh, so you're first gen.
First gen?
Because you were born in the Philippines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So moving here would classify as first gen, because I moved here too.
Mm.
But I was born here, so I'm technically first gen. You'd also be first gen. It's like weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go next. Oh.
Yeah.
I am first gen as well. I moved here when I was 12. And
I'm not an immigrant myself, but I am biracial. My father was black or African American, and my mom is Hispanic or Mexican.
Okay. How would you describe yourself just as a person?
I'm just kidding. I don't know. I feel like I like to change myself a lot. Not in a bad way, but I always try to evolve. But I would call myself somebody who's really sweet, and I am somebody who's really sweet and really determined. I can be kind, but I do things in a way that need to be done, but I do them in a sweet and kind way.
What brought you here to the podcast today? What made you interested?
I think the topics of I always like the idea of having something or like a media to speak up about stuff that matters, and I think the podcast is the best thing to. It's like one of the best tools one can use to speak about matters that us as a youth think that are a problem and need to be heard by older generations.
So this.
Sorry, Khalees.
Oh, it's
I cut
okay.
you off.
It's okay.
To describe myself,
Mhm.
I guess I don't know. I'd like to think I'm a pretty hard worker, and I love talking to people. So I just really like interacting with people, knowing how they came up and just how they live, and I think that's really cool. What was this other question?
Would you say this is your first time being on a podcast?
Yeah, this is my first time being on a podcast. I don't even listen to podcasts, man. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
But you always put yourself out there with your music and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout me out. Yhencey
Yeah.
and Ivan.
No, shout yourself out right
Yeah,
now.
man. Go listen to Clockwork on Spotify and all
It's
major
really good.
streaming platforms. Yhencey and Ivan.
Okay, I think this is honestly a really important topic to kind of dive into, which is representation. How do you feel that it's impactful to your culture? Why do you feel that it's important? Would you like to lead off, Jackie?
Like immigration, or just like representation.
Representation of just your culture, your identity, like in media, movies, TV shows.
I feel like we're a monolith, you know, like, and not just society wise. Like if I mess up, I put a bad rep on like everybody, like everyone that looks like me. But also in media wise, like we're always portrayed as like thugs, you know, cholo culture. Like cholo culture, when you think about it, it's like a negative connotation because it's necessarily not a negative thing. Cholo comes from one of our native. It comes from our native language, and it comes from a native tribe. You know, so the cholo culture, you know, the neighborhood culture originated just to protect our neighborhoods, because as we know, this society is not made to protect us. It really isn't. So cholo culture, you know, the OGs, they're really just about protecting the neighborhood, you know, but it has become something so corrupted because of imperialism and stuff like that, you know, white supremacy. It's become so negative that every movie you see, what Latino do you come in mind? A bald man, you know, white tank top, you know, and some jorts, you know. Don't get me wrong, I love some good jorts. I was debating on wearing them today. But it's just so hard, because I'm just like, I don't look like that, but I feel like if I don't look like that, then I'm not Mexican, or I'm not Chicana, you know?
Yeah. It's like on
Yeah.
my blog and shows
Mhm.
like that.
I'm
yeah.
just like, don't get me wrong, like, yeah, that's a real part of our culture. But we're more than that. You know, we can also be we can also indulge within different type of fashion senses. We can also indulge within different things. Like, just because I'm not Catholic, does that make me less of a Hispanic person? You know, or like just because,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, if you're
Yeah.
not in the stereotype, you're not enough. Even like my own family is just like, you're too open minded to be a Chicana, or you're too, you know, because it's like machismo, the cultural nationalism that we have. You know, like I'm not all about nationalism. Don't get me wrong, Mexico por siempre, but
Yeah.
like it's kind of like I'm not the biggest fan of nationalism. I don't like waving my flag everywhere that I go, but to stick it to the man, I will. Like, you know, you know, what I mean? But you know, but that's just how I feel. Like I feel like we're very much stereotyped, and it's really hard for us to get out of there without being under a box. You know, I can't just be my own person.
Yeah.
Because white people have that. You know, white people like, oh, he might have messed up, but that doesn't affect all white people. But when I mess up, or when another Chicano or another brown person messes up, any minority, it's like, see, I told you, they're all thugs. You know, it's just like, we're all menaces to society. I'm like, and what if I am? Doesn't mean everybody else is. You know, it's just something that I really wish that we could talk about.
Yeah.
You know?
Nasa, you and Jackie come from like different backgrounds, different cultures. How would you
Yes.
feel? What is positive representation to you? What has been positive representation in the media that you have seen?
I think so. I'm pretty sure that to say that positive, like media representation has a lot of different aspects because not even though all of us consume media, we don't consume the same type of media. So like something that may feel Jackie super represented it as a like as a Hispanic, as a Mexican, it might be something that I've never even heard about. So I think for me, it's since I live in the United States, for me seeing people like I have my dreams. I have dreams. I have things that I would like to do, but at the same time, it's like, could I do that? Because at the end of the day, I'm Mexican. I have an accent, and like, there's always like a little bit of a barrier. So like, I have people that like I really admire because they came from the same background. They moved over here when they were older. They learned the language, and now they're like out here doing the things that I wish I could do. So for me, that's representation. For me, that's like, look what they did, and like, not like Jackie was saying, like not all of us are the same. But I feel like when there's a very few Mexican people that get represented, and not like they get represented, but they get like this. How do I explain it? They get like this white passing vibe. You know what I mean? Like as long as they act a different way, as long as they're not like too Mexican, oh, they're good. They're representing. So I feel like my representation comes from things that people that are empowering that are the same as me. I really get empowered and represented when somebody who has moved here at a, like, I did not move here in an early age, and I did not learn English in an early age. But I think when I see somebody else that did that and still like kept moving and accomplished all the dreams, that's representation to me. But also, like, as a Hispanic, I think every single person in the United States that's doing it. I don't know why my voice shattered, but I think that everybody that's right here that's doing it, that keeps going. Like, even the people that wake up, like, the people that wake up at 4 a.m. to go to do their jobs, that's representation. Like, all the hardworking people, that's representation. So, for me, representation is just the hardworking people that we have that live here.
So Yhencey, you're a Filipino, and I remember once you said that you felt like a minority within being a minority.
Yes.
How do you feel that you should be more represented more? What ways would you love to see your culture be more represented?
I think that when I said I'm a minority within a minority, I'm just talking about here in Visalia in general. There are really no other Filipino people here. Like, other than, like, you know, Ella, that's like one out of everybody else in Redwood. There's like, you know, there's a lot of people here. There's other Asians, but they're not Filipino. And it just is crazy to me that there's also no really positive Filipino representation in media either. I think that the best thing we got was literally a show about vampires on Netflix called Tress, you know? And
Oh,
yeah,
yes!
that's the best Filipino representation I've ever gotten. And you know what the best part was? So I think this is mostly a Filipino thing. dude, has your parents or like any one of your relatives ever pointed with their mouth? Like,
Mm.
yeah, dude, literally that. After seeing that, I got so happy. I don't know what it was because my parents fucking do that. Sorry.
Sorry, Matt.
Sorry, Matt.
He's just walking away right
Matt's
now.
sorry. I know this is gonna be a toughie.
It's like, bye, guys.
No, but literally, just that, like them pointing with their mouth. It was just such a small part in the show, but I felt like yes, that's Filipino culture right there, and it even happened in Encanto, dude. When
I was thinking about that
yeah,
right now.
like when the main character points,
Mirabe.
yeah,
When she's like, you got a gift, and then she's
Yeah.
like,
that's so
That is so
Filipino
cute.
right there. But seriously, there. Other than that, I've never seen my culture represented, at least in an American sense, like just represented well. I don't know. There's just not a lot of Filipinos here in the what is it? Just
Central Valley?
Central Valley in general, but as soon as you go up to Fresno, there's so many Asian people. Or in the
Mhm.
Bay Area, there's so many
Or
just
Strathmore.
Filipino.
Strathmore.
Yeah, that's what
Mhm.
I'm saying. Or like Delano, they literally
Mhm.
built a Jollibee in Delano because there's so much people there, and that's definitely a Filipino thing right there.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, dude, honestly, my answer for both, I can't tell you that because I don't feel
I think
Filipino,
it's
dude.
better. I
Huh?
think it's better to do what things that you do that honor your culture. Since he was talking about like there's Filipino things that you do that you don't notice.
Yeah, like cooking.
So I
do
think
you
you should like
celebrate
say like
anything?
what things make you feel
Like this?
Filipino, and you can talk about the food. You can talk about your parents, how you grew up with them,
Yeah.
the differences that you see at your household, and like and when you go to somebody else's household.
Do you feel that you can answer that? Because we could always move on to immigration.
I feel like I could. I'll just go off the rip.
Hmm
Okay, sweet.
Have a good one.
Okay, so let's
That was-
move on to our next question involving identity and culture, which is, in what ways do you honor your culture? Let me start off with Nasa this time.
Oh, me. Hi. I think honor in like what way?
Like food.
Oh.
What do you watch? What holidays do you celebrate? Family gatherings. What do you do in ways that?
I
like-
think for me the best way that I honor my culture and the way that like I feel connected to it, it's with music and food. I think they're like, cause it's funny because Mexico is really known by its music and by its food. So I feel like every single time that I listen to music in Spanish, that I talk to my friends in Spanish, I feel like I'm honoring a part of myself that sometimes I don't show. Because I learned to speak English. I listen to music in English and everything. So I feel like I listen, like I have a lot of, my mom says that I have the taste of my grandma, which is not bad because I was listening to a song the other day. It's called Sabor a Mi. It's so good. And my mom was like, you know, your grandpa used to sing this song to your grandma. And I thought that was so cute because I discovered that song like in like other ways. So I think it was really nice for like that. I feel like I was honoring my culture by listening to a song that they listened in the past.
What about you, Yhencey? Yhencey, sorry.
That's all good.
I'm like,
Yhencey.
Yeah, the
sorry,
way-
sorry, guys.
I think for me, the way I honor my culture, it's very difficult because I don't feel Filipino, dude. I feel like a white guy. I just happen to be Filipino. Like my voice doesn't have any accents like my parents. I never had to struggle like that. Dude, I literally feel so white, but just with brown skin. But I guess ways that I try to honor my culture whenever my parents speak to me, and I always just try to respond however I can in Tagalog. So, say yes or no, I'm like opo, or what is it, no, and as in like when, for yes in Ilocano, and haan, no in Ilocano, and I just try to speak the language whenever I can, because, Tagalog was actually my first language, but as soon as I heard we were moving to the States, I was like, oh yeah, dude, it's gonna be cool to learn English, and my mom never forced me to like, just to reply to her in like Tagalog, Ilocano, and stuff like that, so I just didn't remember. So I kind of feel like an imposter in my own shell, honestly. I don't know. I guess like I feel scared that whenever my aunties or my titas, my titos, my grandma, my grandpa, they ask, hey, do you speak Tagalog or anything? And I'm like, no, I only understand English. I feel like I'm letting them down a little bit. but I try to listen to more Tagalog music and eat more food that from my culture, and that's how I try to honor it. And I also try to I have a big like I have a lot of pride in wearing like the Filipino flag. That is so cool, dude. I love the look of it.
Do you feel that your mom probably talked to you less in your native language so you could easily assimilate here?
Dude, I don't even know if it was that. They kind of just they never said anything about it. I don't know. I don't think it was a big deal, but I might not just be looking at it in the right way. You know?
Yeah, I know for sure that happened with my mom. Her parents were, they were from Texas, I believe, but I think they might have immigrated here from Mexico, and they like spoke Spanish like fluently. But my mom, she has broken like Spanish because they just told her, oh, don't talk in Spanish, talk in English, so you can like more assimilate with people around you. And so she like kind of lost that part of herself because she did never learn Spanish, so
Yeah, man.
so
I've been trying to learn the language, and it's so difficult, dude. My parents are literally they're trilingual. They know Tagalog, Ilocano, which are two Filipino languages, and then they know English too. Like, I respect them so much for that, and I want to pick up the slack. I don't. I feel like when they have to translate to English, they always ask me like, "Hey, how do you say this in English?" Like, I feel like I lose out on what their original message was, and I wish I could just talk like, where's my effort? I guess I just wish I could put more effort into understanding them originally and how they want it to sound. You know?
yeah, being around like NASA really makes me want to learn Spanish because I'm like, I feel like I lose out on what you're saying, and that's like your native language. But I don't understand a lick of Spanish,
It's
so.
funny because I really like. I I am very like I don't know how to explain it, but like once I'm with somebody that I know it's only speaks English, I only speak English. Like I try so hard, but once I know that it's somebody around me that's like Hispanic or understands me, I switch. Like I completely switch and I start speaking Spanglish, and like I start saying stuff, and I'm like, oh wait. And then even listening to music in Spanish, like in dance, we're practicing these dance that's in Spanish. And like there's this part of the song, and I was telling them like, oh yeah, this part of the song, porque la quiero hacer así, and I was like, wait, you guys don't speak Spanish, so never mind.
Yeah, that makes me really jealous. I get jealous of you and NASA just being able to switch to Spanish on a whim, dude. Like if I spoke Tagalog, I wish there were just more Filipino people here so I could do that. Like I just am so jealous of you guys just being able to do that.
It's a process, I will say,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're like, I will say that I've been on both sides of the spectrum because I didn't know English at once. Like when I got here, I was so jealous, as you were saying, of people who just could like, of even my cousins that were like, they will be speaking Spanish and they will be like speaking in English, and I was like, I really wish I could understand what you're saying, or I really wish I could do that too. So that's what I'm saying, that it's a process because it took me a really long time to speak Spanish and my English. It took me a really long time to speak English, and like Jackie remembers, and I have so many people that are like, "Oh, you speak English now," and it's like, "Yeah, I do," because it used to be really, really broken.
Mm.
But I think once you're in the middle, it's something really nice, and I wish you could get to experience that one day.
Hopefully.
No, you got this because at the end of the day, you're Filipino no matter what. You know what I mean? So whatever you do is what a Filipino man would do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
feel-
guess that's true.
Right? And I think it's really hard because, as you said, you don't really have anybody to, like, validate that when the only representation you have around you are, like, people that speak Tagalog, people that speak other Filipino languages. So it's hard to be like, I'm Filipino too, because you don't look like them, or you're not like them necessarily. Excuse me. No, I'm kidding. But at the same time, it's like, no matter what you do, that's what a Filipino person would do because you're Filipino.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So whenever someone tries to invalidate you, be like, but I'm Filipino though.
Yeah.
Like, but it's hard. Like, it's hard.
I get that a lot because I also like I don't know why, but people say like, oh, you don't look Mexican. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, because I get like dismissed a lot because my skin is white. And like people don't expect me to be Mexican. People expect me to act a different way. So when I act like my culture wise, people always tend to like, I don't know why, but people tend to dismiss me, which is like, I literally was born and raised in Mexico, and you're dismissing me just because of the way that I look. So I get that, and I think it's really cool that at the end of the day, it's like, I'm Mexican, so it doesn't really matter, you know?
Yeah. I so wish that I knew Spanish, because then at least people might think like, oh yeah, she is Mexican. She does have like that side of her culture, because people look at me and they're just like, oh, she's black, you know. So I just wish I could like represent both my cultures equally, because I feel oftentimes I do focus more on my black side than my like Hispanic side, but it's like you'll never be enough of both. So I guess that's my own like personal dilemma.
Dude, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I would have just been like, myself. Myself. But at the same time, I'll never understand, you know? But
Yeah.
But I still want to give people the support that I can give as a person that is Hispanic, you know? Because, like, if you're a person like NASA, like, say she needed a support of, like, that validation, like, girl, you're Mexican. I got you. You know, and I feel like that's kind of, you always need that person to be like, but you're Mexican, so, like, you got this. Like, no matter what you do, you're going to be still you know? So, for me, like, how I represent is just, like, being unapologetically myself. Because I go around and I speak Spanish no matter where I am at. Like, I've gotten looked down on. I've even been told, like, speak English, we're in America. Like, even in classrooms where, like, white kids will be like, yo no sé español, you know, and I'm just like, ah! Or they're like, K? I'm like, oh my gosh. Stop. It just frustrates me so much. But at the same time, I'm just like, but you only know English. Inferior. But it's just so much, like, being unapologetically yourself in, like, a space that doesn't want you to be yourself is kind of how you represent. Because I'm just like, at the end of the day, I want to be able to represent my culture no matter what, but I'm also my own person, so I'm going to still be myself, but at the same time be able to identify myself with my culture, if that makes sense. You know, so I sing in Spanish, I'll speak in Spanish, or even, like, bring my food. Like, I used to sell tortas at school.
Hell yeah.
I remember that.
No, everybody. I sold tortas, and I was like, hey, you know, like, food, anything, music, gritos, I don't care. I'll be doing whatever I want.
I remember.
The way I try to honor my culture, I try to say the words in an accent and like with how my parents say it, because in Tagalog, the way you say words, V's turn into B's, like, or like P, the letter P,
But I
like the
speak
stress.
with an accent.
As in, like, when you say Filipino, right? Filipino pride, the way my parents would say it is like Filipino pride.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, and then
Filipino pride.
yeah, let's see, and then B's turn into B, or V's turn into B's. So when I still went by Ivan, my mom would never say Ivan. It's like Ivan.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you stress
That's
the
how
A.
I read it.
Yeah, exactly. It's
In Spanish, yeah.
yeah, because it's very like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I guess one thing to honor it, I just try to pronounce things in Spanish or the way my parents would. You know.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
I do that too. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, my name, I don't say Jacqueline. I say, se pronuncia Jacqueline. Jacqueline Ramirez. Because I'm just like,
It's not like I have an option.
for real. But it's just like, when people are like, oh, Jacqueline, I'm like, that's not my mom is Mexican. My mom never calls me Jacqueline. So correct yourself. You know? Do that.
Gobiernate.
Correct them. Be like, no,
Yeah.
Ivan.
Ivan. Yeah. And then all my friends make fun of me for it. Because, like, my mom is loud.
Oh.
She projects through the hallway.
Yeah.
So I just know, be like, Ivan!
No, you're just-
And then they just make fun of me for it, which I think is funny. But
It's like, the girls that get it, get it. The girls that don't,
don't.
for real.
Don't worry, Yhencey. That's just how it is, you know. But it's okay, because my mom's like, she'll be screaming in the phone. I'm like, and my friends be like, she's on speaker. I'm like, girl, no, that's regular. That's the on mute. Like, homegirl can be.
That's on mute.
Yeah, she can be heard any day, anywhere.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh, ma'am, I'm right here.
You-
Gente de Jalisco hablan tan recio.